Folks, look at this beautiful bird. This is barbecue chicken, believe it or not. This is a Cornish game hen that we have smoked with mesquite smoke and served up with a few beautiful sides. Tell you what, folks, wait till you try this out. You're absolutely going to love it. Howdy folks, welcome back to Texas Cooking Today. On this episode, as you've already seen, we're making a most beautiful, delicious game hen. Now, this is gorgeous on the plate. It's an inexpensive dish to do. And for summertime, you know, when it's hot outside and you don't want to heat up the house, this is a great dish to go with because you get something that's slow cooked. You get that slow cooked flavor and it's just unbelievable. Now, this is barbecue chicken. Just that the size of the hen was smaller means nothing, okay? This works for big birds and small birds alike, guys. Everything I'm going to show you today is universal when it comes to barbecue chicken. Now, barbecue, what is barbecue? Barbecue isn't grilling, okay? If the heat's under the bird, that's grilling, okay? We're barbecuing, guys. Barbecue, the literal definition of it, that is slow cooking with smoke. Now when we're barbecuing, we want to seal moisture in our meat. So I'm going to teach you how to make a special poultry mop that has some really good flavors that work very well with poultry. It's delicious, guys. Now, if you want to do a glaze on yours, you can do a glaze. I'm not going to get into that today. We're just going to focus on how to do the barbecue chicken. I have glazes that are other recipes on other videos, and you can use one of those. Like my, for myself today, I might use my Chipotle bourbon barbecue sauce to finish these with. But regardless of what kind I use, that's always done at the end. You don't barbecue sauce or glaze chicken early because it seals off the meat from getting smoke. And I want to teach you how that smoke affects the meat and why the meat looks different when smoke comes in contact to it. So I'll tell you what, guys, let's get in there and get busy making up some magnificent tasting barbecue chicken. Let's get at it. Come on. Okay, guys, as I said, very simple barbecue chicken. There's not a lot to this. We have our wood, we have our fuel here in the form of charcoal. You can do this with just wood if you want, but I'm going to teach you a neat method that combines both the charcoal as well as natural wood and gives a fabulous smoke release. Also, it's easier to control your heat this way, guys. That needs to be said. Now, I have here two Cornish game hens. These are some fairly good sized Cornish game hens. You can use regular chickens for this, larger, roasters or something like that. That works fine. I think these are lovely on the plate by themselves, so that's why I went with them. The smoker I'm using, I could easily smoke up 20 of these things because I have enough space on it. The mop have some wonderful ingredients here. The mop is going to keep that chicken moist all the way through, and it's going to provide just a little bit of flavor in addition to the flavor of the smoke. But remember, it's that mesquite flavor. That's what I'm going for in the chicken. That is my seasoning. So guys, let's get into prepping these two little birds, get our fire running, and let's make us some barbecue chicken. Come on over. Now guys, let me explain what we call a mop sauce. A mop sauce is simply a way of keeping moisture in the bird, or in your piece of meat rather, when you're doing barbecue. Because when you're barbecuing, you're cooking for a long time and you don't want to steam out all of that moisture, so you need something that helps to lock it in. On a brisket, it's a huge slab of fat that's attached to one side of it. But in this case, we have chickens, And while there is a good amount of fat under the skin on that chicken, we have to remove the skin in order to get the smoke to the meat. So I have to have something that replaces the fat that's in that skin. And that's what the oil is for. We're going to be using olive oil, vinegar, garlic and thyme, and salt. The proportions here, this is going to be 3/4 of a cup of olive oil, 1/4 of a cup of vinegar, a teaspoon each of garlic, thyme, and our salt. And that's all there is to it, guys. Very simple. We boil that together and then we simply baste the chicken with it as we're cooking, and we do that about once every 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and that way that chicken will have the moisture locked into it from the oils here. The acid from this is going to help break any rind that forms on that chicken so that more smoke can penetrate. And of course, a little bit of seasoning never hurts, right? Now guys, let's get on with preparing our charcoal. Then we can prep chickens, make this mop, and get it rolling. Okay guys, we're out here with my million-year-old offset smoker. Matters not, still produces really good barbecue. Now before I get busy smoking, there's something I want to mention before we light this up. Underneath my grate here is a pan. You want a pan down in the bottom of this that you can pour water into. The idea there is you don't want too dry of an atmosphere as you're smoking. You want a little moisture in there. And so what we do is we put a pan on the bottom of the smoke chamber side of a smoker, the big side. That pan, pour water into it, the water stays hot, meat comes out juicier. Trust me guys, this works. So always remember, pan in the bottom. Now I've got a black pan down in there right now. It's kind of hard to see, but it's in there. I have my charcoal chimney filled up. There's paper in it. All I need to do is just get some fire started. These chimneys work great, guys, and you don't ever need lighter fluid. All you have to do is just take some old newspaper. That newspaper is going to light the bottom charcoal. The bottom charcoal, of course, heats up quickly and lights up the rest of it very quick and easy. You don't get that creosote flavor that comes with lighter fluid. Never use that stuff. Now in a little bit here, we're going to line out our firebox down there. I'll have my charcoal in the middle and I'll be putting my wet wood around the sides of it. Guys, this works and you're going to love it. Okay guys, let's get on with preparing these beautiful little birds. Now what I want to do, a couple of things. I want to make sure smoke can get to the meat, and the second thing is I want to make sure that the smaller pieces, these legs and the wings, don't dry out too quickly. In other words, I want even cooking. So I need to do a couple of things here to get the smoke next to this meat. Now some people are just going to have a fit that I'm doing this, but we have to get down to the meat, guys. That's all there is to it. No smoke penetration on the meat means no barbecue. It means you have chicken with a smoked skin. All right? You can still leave that skin on there if you want, but I'm recommending let's just go ahead and expose our bird. Okay? Same thing down here on my legs. So very gently, if you would, on your bird, just work that skin off as you've seen me do there. The fat is fine in there, guys. It's not really a problem. But what we're looking for, as I said, smoke penetration. The fat, what it'll do is it'll actually help to lock in some moisture in certain parts of your chicken, so it's a good thing. Now the skin on the wings, I'm leaving on them, okay? It means, yes, your wings won't be so delicately smoked. You can move it off if you want, but those suckers will simply get overcooked otherwise. So we have to choose our battles when it comes to these little birds like this. You notice the bird just kind of splays open and it's really sad looking. So what I want to do is it's not so much for appearance as it is for quality of cook, but I want to tie his legs off. So I'll simply take a string, tie it around one leg, go to the other leg, get my leg in there, I'll simply pull them together. Isn't that easy? Now, when I cook him, he can be all nice and pulled together, and he will stay as a good quality bird. The next thing I want to do, I'm going to flip him over. There we go. Take those strings right down through there. Now on this one, watch how I do it on this. I use those 2 strings from the front legs to pull those wings right back. There we go. I'm going to tuck the wing behind again, and if you want you can go under that string. It will help hold it. Do it again, and there we have them. My extra ends, trim those off, and I'm done. Our chickens are ready to get out there, with one exception. I want to put a little bit of olive oil on these and a bit of salt on these, and boom, we're ready to hit them on that grill. Light drizzle of olive oil. Remember, these at the moment, this is bare and exposed meat. There's nothing, guys, protecting it from losing its moisture until I just put that olive oil on there. So the whole idea there, that's the idea behind that mop, is to make sure that you have plenty of fat protecting the meat of the bird. Don't worry, this fat will not prevent the smoke from penetrating. The skin will, but this fat will not. Salt. When the fire's ready, the birds are too. So all I have to do is wait for my fire to be stable, for the temperature in the smoker to be stable, and these birds can go on there. We have all of our ingredients ready to go on our mop. Now I have already measured into this 3/4 of a cup of olive oil and 1/4 of a cup of vinegar, and I'm just going to put that right down in my pan there. A teaspoon of salt right there. Boom, 1 teaspoon salt. Same thing on my garlic powder. Now, the reason I'm not using fresh garlic, guys, garlic powder and fresh garlic both have 2 different distinct flavors. I want the garlic powder flavor in this, okay? Thyme, same thing on this, guys, same exact situation. 1 teaspoon, want the flavor. At this point, I simply bring it up to a boil. I'm going to let that simmer once it comes to a boil for about 5 to 10 minutes, and that way I just get a good flavor combination going on there. That's all there is to it, guys. Once the meat is out there on the smoke and it's been on for about 30 minutes or so, then I will begin applying my mop, but not until the smoke actually starts penetrating that meat some. There's what I'm talking about, guys. The smell of that garlic, the thyme, and the vinegar releasing in the air, well, that is just potent, let me tell you. So it doesn't have to boil long, just like I said, a few minutes, just to get those flavors in our spices and herb distributed. Now guys, the top of my charcoal has turned white, as you can see, which means I've got a lot of heat in there and it is ready to go. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour it right down here into my firebox. So let's go ahead and get this done. Now guys, as you can see, very, very hot fire. Really, it's a little bit hotter than what I need for what I'm doing here. So what I have, I'm gonna knock this down, there we go, and I'm gonna place some large chunks of wood around the side. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna let the metal heat up and bring this wood up in temperature and provide all the smoke we need. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a water pan in the bottom of this, and that's what I'm going to be doing right now. And I'm using this water to wash off that grate right where I had my fire. So now I have plenty of water in my pan down below. My wood has been soaking, it's ready to go. All I have to do at this point is get my smoker's temperature to stabilize. A lot of times when you first start up a smoker, when you first get it running, it's going to be a little bit on the hot side, guys. So you got to give it some time to cool down and stabilize. So wait till your temperature hits a stable 220, 225 right in there, and then we're ready to cook. There it is, guys. The temperature on this, I want around 220, 225. And as long as it doesn't shoot up much above that, then I'll feel comfortable getting my meat right on out here. Right behind that, my smokestack is starting to push out smoke. If the smoke is of good quality, it will be slow and blue. It'll billow a light blue color. Okay guys, this is what I'm talking about right here. This thing has only been closed now for maybe about 5 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes. See how that heat shot straight up there? And now it is at the highest point that I would want it during smoking. In fact, a little higher than I would prefer it. I prefer it around the 220 range, which means, well, right now it looks like it's around 230. So I'm hoping to get this back down. Now let me show you what we do to control the heat and temperature inside of a smoker. Now guys, you have already become acquainted with the smoker heat box. In other words, this is your fire box down here. This is where all the heat goes, right in there, okay? Now if I open that up, it gets a rush of air, it heats the whole thing up. I've got a lot of this open right now, which is allowing a lot of air in, and it's allowing it to heat my smoke box up higher than I want. So I need to choke on it. There we go. Now it's a little more closed. I've got it about an inch open. Hopefully that will help bring down that temperature, and if it doesn't, I'll close it even further and just give it time until it comes down to the right temp. The problem you run into on days like this, when the temperatures are really high, and in Texas this is the middle of July, so it's triple digits. The trouble you run into is keeping these things cool enough. Okay guys, look here. You see the color of that smoke? How it's billowing gently and it's a light blue color? That's what we're looking for. If it billows a little slower than that and gets a little more blue, then it'll be just perfect. But that is where we're headed. Guys, I went ahead and choked down on that fire and closed that damper, and sure enough, my temperature is heading in the right direction now. It's come down 5 degrees. So guess what? That means that it's time to go ahead and get that chicken right up inside of the smoker here. There we go. And I want to put a little more wood on the fire. And guys, here in just a little bit, I'm going to add a little more charcoal in there. And this is going to be cooking up a storm. So I'll tell you what, that's all you really have to do is just occasionally add some charcoal, keep your wood around the outside edges, and that way it doesn't flare up on you and you get a better smolder. Guys, it looks like my temperature got a little bit low, so I opened up the air on my side of my firebox, and that way it opens itself up and heats up just a little bit. So that's what you need to do if it gets cool. Now, let's take a look down here, and we're going to go ahead. It's been 30 minutes. I'm going to get a little bit of my mop on here, and I'm just going to use a simple basting brush rather than a mop. For something this light, I don't need anything heavier than this, as you can see. Now guys, the chicken is going to look a little different when you're smoking it than when you're baking it, and that's because the nitrates in the smoke are affecting the proteins in the meat. Guys, take a look at that. I've just pulled these in off of the smoker. They've been out there for a few hours. Now the thing of it is how long you have them out there just kind of depends on you, if you want deep smoke penetration or light. What I like to do, some people like to cook their meat all the way through out on the smoker. I like to usually finish mine off in the oven. Now this one's coming up in temperature, and I put it in the one spot on that bird that's going to be the coolest, between the leg and the breast, up under there. And I've got 155.3 going on right there on my, somewhere in there. So roughly 155. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put these in the oven. So that's 350 degrees in the oven. Get that core temperature up on these guys, and then they are ready to eat. Now, at this point, right here, if you're interested in glazing your birds, this is when you want to do it. All right. I have honey chipotle. It's a bourbon and honey chipotle sauce. And I'm just going to put a little bit on the top of one of these. Just to very lightly glaze it. Right there. Over those legs. And I'm not trying to saturate it. All I'm trying to do is to get a very thin, sweet coating on the outside of that beautifully smoked meat. That way I get this very special flavor from it all. The next thing before I put that in the oven, I want just a little bit of water in the bottom of my dish. This is just to keep, again, moisture in the meat. We're trying to keep it from getting dried out. And this isn't going to take a long time in the oven. That's the reason I only put about 1/4 of an inch of water in the bottom there. So guys, let's get it in the oven and it's done. There it is, folks. Beautiful. Now, if you're looking for a neat way to do barbecue chicken, well, guess what? There it is. Okay, so this sort of makes that simple barbecue dish go from just simple to something that could easily be defined as elegant. The meat is pulling back so easy that just came off all by itself. Guys, first of all, it's all pink up in here. There's a reason behind that. Those are the nitrites and nitrates affecting the myoglobin in the meat. That's the protein that makes it pink or red. And it was preserving it, so it kept its color even after 4 hours of cooking. It's beautiful and it's delicious. Oh, guys. This beautiful harmony of the chicken and the smoke. It's just what it should be. A light saltiness, a simple, very light hint in the background of garlic and thyme. So delicate. The meat is still moist, it's tender and juicy. Oh, I'm so looking forward to finishing that. It's unbelievable. Guys, this is a delicious and wonderful way for you to do a bird, so please give this a try. I would like to say thank you so very much for watching Texas Cooking Today. To my subscribers, extra special thank you to you guys. Cheers to you. Thank you to those people that write in on a regular basis. I appreciate your help and your support more than you can imagine. It's one of the things that drives me and keeps me going. Please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe. If you would, share my videos. And folks, one other thing, if you would, please have a good day. Bye-bye. Oh man, I tell you, anybody that says, oh man, anybody can make a YouTube video, there's more to this than anybody thinks. I'm on take number 4, folks. What are you doing? It's you say one thing wrong and suddenly you're re-recording. It'll drive you nuts.